Welcome back to my nightmare. So, I took a little break back for I think this is the stunning conclusion. Because I think most of chapter 5 is actually smut. And I can't read it to you on camera without blushing and also getting demonetized. So, I actually probably can't be monetized anyway. Because I think there's like a rule about not cursing in your videos. Like, I'm not sure I can get monetized at all. Because I think that because I curse so much, my videos are not actually eligible. I'm not sure. I've never been monetized, so I don't know the actual answer to that question. Um, anyway, so I think I'm going to read the parts of chapter 5 that I can read, and then we'll just power through to the end, because I think chapter 7 is pretty short. The standard formula with these is sometime around chapter 5 or 6. That's usually about where I will put any smut that I might do. I don't always put smut, though, because I just don't. But we'll try. So chapter 5 of Upcycle My Heart by Avery Morstan. Most of it. If you want all of it, go buy it. Hold on, real funny. Like, never mind. I'll tell. That's not appropriate. I'll tell you later. Bye. Chapter 5. Denver worried they'd ordered too much pizza for dinner, but they wanted to give Celia a surprise for helping out all day. So they just went with 2 large pizzas and a 24-piece buffalo wing and a 2-liter of soda. If the two of them didn't finish it all, they'd have some leftovers for the next day or two, which was fine. The living room was coming along nicely, but Denver knew they were going to need to pause. They'd started early, and while Celia had a ton of energy, Denver was certainly not a teen anymore. Rest sounded really good. The subject of exes kept popping up, probably because Celia would go to move something or ask Denver's opinion of something, and a look would cross their face as they remembered how said item would go to that particular spot in the first place. Then she would gently squeeze their hand and remind them that both of their exes sounded terrible. Everyone has a terrible ex. I know this one girl, Scarlett, who started a sewing business during the pandemic, Denver said. They folded a black patterned throw blanket that they'd picked up at the thrift store for a few bucks because it looked cozy, and draped it over the back of the sofa. Her ex called her fat in front of her roommate, and then proceeded to tell her that all the clothes she'd been making were ugly muumuus. First of all, they were baby doll dresses, and there's nothing wrong with an ugly muumuu. There's nothing wrong with muumuus. I don't know why people think they're ugly, Celia interrupted. She was smoothing over a large panel of removable sticker wallpaper, which had changed one of the beige walls into a deep emerald statement wall. Also true. And her style, it's like Courtney Love caftan situation, Denver said. You'd probably love her stuff. Some of it is made from old sheets that has cartoons printed all over. But again, what's wrong with caftans? I have some. I wear them around the house. They're comfortable, Celia objected. She finished with the wallpaper and stood back with her hands on her hips to admire her work. Sometimes you just don't need a waistband around your stomach judging you. You're right, Denver agreed. They stepped up behind her and looked at the wall. This is a gorgeous color. You picked it? Yeah, but it was your idea and you helped put it up, so I think you should take some of the credit, Denver told her. She laughed. I'll take it. But seriously, I don't understand why people hate comfort or hate other people being comfortable. It's not an insult to you if someone wants to wear something, like your boots, Celia continued, on the subject of Scarlett's dresses. You wear those heavy boots, but I know a lot of people who wouldn't want to wear them. That doesn't mean you should stop. She paused and she chewed on her lip as she thought about the entire situation. What happened to Scarlett? Denver grinned and gave her a wink. Her roommate kicked the boyfriend out, threatened to call the cops, and then they started dating. Cam is a really sweet girl, and she makes Scarlett really happy. Celia's frown turned into a beaming smile. Excellent. And you're right. There's nothing wrong or ugly or negative with being comfortable, Denver said quietly. They thought about their recent coming out and their group of trans friends who were also in varying stages of realizing their true selves. There's nothing wrong with being your authentic self. Your ex again? Celia asked, and Denver nodded. She reached up to cup Denver's face, cradling it in her hands like it was a precious thing. If you changed for her, you're not being you, and I like you. I'm glad you're you. I'm glad you're you too, Denver replied. Their phone buzzed, and they broke contact with Celia to see that their dinner had arrived. Ah, I hope you're hungry. I got pizza. A lot of it. Celia giggled. I love pizza. Awesome, Denver said. By the time they returned to the apartment with boxes in hand, Celia had put out plates and napkins. She'd set 2 places on the coffee table and lit a candle in the middle. Romantic, like a date, she said with a shy smile. Denver grinned. You don't mind eating on the coffee table. I figure we could watch a movie or something if you're not sick of me yet. Denver stopped themselves from admitting they didn't think they could ever get sick of Celia and just set the boxes down before pulling Celia in for a hug. Thanks. I'm definitely up for a movie with you. She hugged them back, letting their bodies sway. Thank you for dinner. Denver would never be able to remember the movie they chose. They were on their newly cozified sofa, sitting next to a pretty girl, eating a pizza, and getting to know one another, as whatever they landed on for viewing played in the background, completely ignored. Did I ask you what you did for work earlier? Celia asked, happily sucking the meat off of a chicken wing that had been dipped in a puddle of ranch dressing. I can't remember. It's okay. It's not very memorable unless you have a technology issue. I'm in IT. I basically fix computer issues for this company. It's really boring. It's okay, I mean, it pays the bills, and I can work remotely during all the stuff going on because I can just hop into people's machines to troubleshoot. It helps me stay private about my other stuff too, the non-binary stuff, Denver said with a sigh. I wanted to be a drummer, but I was born without a sense of rhythm. Celia licked her fingers and sat her plate down on the table. She grabbed a napkin to dry off her digits and pulled Denver to their feet. I cannot believe that you don't have a rhythm. Come on, everyone has rhythm. She tugged them around the coffee table and started to wiggle her hips. Come on, show me your moves. Denver flushed. It was a little uncomfortable. There wasn't any music, just the movie, and yet somehow watching Celia's hips move back and forth, the round curves of them bouncing and swaying, well, that was certainly a sight to see. I don't know. Am I making you uncomfortable? She asked. She seemed sincere. She'd stopped dancing and looked at them with concern in her eyes. No, not much, Denver asked. They wondered how red their cheeks were because they felt hot all over. I think I'm just more of a slow dancer. Celia frowned for a moment and then her expression cleared. She reached for Denver's hands, placing them on her soft hips. Denver couldn't help but squeeze a little, feeling her softness yielding under their hands. She looped her arms around their neck and lined her body closer to theirs. Is this okay? Yeah, they whispered. She started the motion, leading them into a gentle sway back and forth, no music at all. So you don't want to do IT? She prompted. I think it's just that I sometimes wish I were doing something more creative. But I'm not an artist, like my friend Scarlett or you, Denver said softly. I've never been the artsy type until this week, to be honest. Aren't you the one that just said there's a lot of ways to make art? Celia replied. Her voice was quiet and gentle. I think you're more creative than you believe. Nah, I mean, you're the one that helped me with all this. I probably would have never come up with any of these ideas, Denver replied. But they were lost in her eyes. Art is whatever you want it to be. You don't have to live it all the time, Celia replied. I get looked down on for my job, you know? Really? Oh, yeah, because I'm in my 30s and I'm not a manager. I'm just a clerk in a box store. My mom is on my ass a lot about that, but you know, I understand it better. Celia paused and nibbled on her lip in that nervous way she had. I can come off as pretty confident, but I also miss a lot of social cues. I would have a difficult time navigating office politics. It sounds like torture if I'm being honest. If I had a 9-to-5 job, I think I'd cry. I don't like capitalism, but I can understand transactions well enough. Denver considered that, tilting their head to the side. Was I a transaction? The two of them had stopped shuffling, but Celia was still clinging to Denver's shoulders. You were beautiful. I knew that I'd regret not meeting you. That's a bit woo-woo, Denver pointed out. Celia smiled. I think you need more woo-woo in your life, she replied. They grinned. You're not wrong. They switched arms then, and Denver felt something shift between them. Celia moved her hands from where they were linked behind Denver's neck, bringing them down over Denver's side. Denver's own hands came up to drape over her shoulders, and they cupped the back of her head, gazing into her eyes. I'd like to kiss you, they said. She grinned. I'd like to kiss you too, she replied. That is where we're leaving that. For a while. I forgot to mention I'm still in the hotel room, so you may hear the air conditioner or housekeeping. We don't know. Yeah, the rest of chapter 5 is smut. Chapter 6. Denver wasn't a morning person, but then again, they weren't used to having someone in their bed with them. Erin had been someone who liked to get up early and do things like morning runs or gym workouts. Not that there was anything wrong with that, but it meant that she didn't linger for cuddling. Towards the end of their relationship, Denver would allow themselves to pass out on the sofa late at night in order to avoid going into the bedroom and potentially waking up Erin. They became real friendly with late night ads and 3 a.m. infomercials. Now, as Denver slowly regained consciousness in the morning light, casting interesting shadows through their new vine curtains, they realized they weren't alone. Oh, it's the book. I was like, what is that? Celia was pressed close behind them with her arm draped solidly around Denver's waist and her nose buried into the space behind their shoulder blades. Denver wasn't used to being the little spoon, but they found it quite nice. They wanted to turn over and look at her. She'd been so responsive the night before, so warm and open. They wanted to watch her sleep and bask in the gift that was Celia. She'd allowed Denver to play her like an instrument, and at the end, Denver allowed her... We're going to skip that part too. Denver twisted their body to look at her. She was too freaking adorable. The way the morning light and the shadows and leaves danced across her face, the way her eyelashes rested against the roundness of her cheeks, the very tiny, unmistakable snore that snuck out of her nose. It was all precious. Denver was on their way to being entirely smitten. Celia was probably going to be hungry, Denver thought. They certainly were. They slipped quietly out of bed to do something about that. The bathroom was first for morning reasons, and they brushed their teeth. And as they brushed their teeth, they looked around at the room. It was as plain as the rest of the apartment had been, but now instead of being sad about it, they saw the potential. The hope that this space was truly going to start reflecting the person they wanted to be. Black walls would probably be too much for a tiny bathroom, but what about dark gray? Would that make it cozy? Did that sticker wallpaper hold up in steamy environments? Denver smiled. They were certainly going to find out. As they stepped into the living room on the way to their kitchen, they took in the work of the night before. Near the window, wedged against the wall, was a little bistro table and chairs. It was one of those round metal outdoor tables that had been on clearance since summer was rolling to an end, bought for a song, but it gave a rock and roll metal vibe, and Denver loved it. There was a little black vase with flowers in the center. Denver took in the artwork that Tate had watched them create, the green statement wall, the large fake plotted plants in the corner, the throw pillows. It all felt so much like home. With a happy sigh, Denver moved to more important questions. What should they have for breakfast? As they were starting the coffee to brew, there was a knock on the door. Denver rolled their eyes. Tate or Jesse, probably, and Denver was going to have to admit to them why they couldn't come in. Denver knew they'd never hear the end of the teasing. Perhaps they could make something up. Paint fumes? Denver opened the front door. The breath felt like it had been knocked out of them. Erin? Hi, Denver, Erin said, her lips pulling into a familiar smile that Denver would have killed to see just a few short weeks ago. She held up 2 cups of coffee from Devil's, and Denver could tell by the logo. They couldn't imagine that it had been easy on her. In the breakup, Denver had definitely gotten all of the friends at Devil's Stomping Grounds. Do you have a second? I'd like to talk. Denver crossed their arms over their chest. They hated how they felt like they were in trouble, like they'd somehow been cheating on Erin, which was ridiculous considering they'd been broken up. Still, getting caught with a new something by the person you had previously been sleeping with was awkward, to say the least. Denver shook their head. Now isn't a good time. Oh, that's a shame. Jessie said. Denver's eyes flashed. Jessie? Jessie said what? Can't I come in? Erin asked. Her smile faltered. We could talk. Maybe we could even get some breakfast. She can come in, Celia said from behind Denver. Denver looked over their shoulder at her, and their breath caught. She looked so good in the morning light. Her rumpled shirt, her paint-covered jeans, even the way her hair was falling out of the fluffy bun she'd pulled it into. I have to go and get ready for work. You don't have to go, Denver said. But Celia had already put on her shoes and had her bag in hand. She patted them on the arm as she passed. No, it's fine. See you later, Denver, Celia said. Denver tried to understand the expression on her face, but they couldn't quite nail it down. It wasn't angry, but it wasn't sad either. They should have run after her, begged her to go out to breakfast with them, and pretended Aaron hadn't just ruined one of the nicest things that had happened to Denver in a long time. Sadly, Aaron stood in the way with an expectant look on her face. Denver wanted to scream. "What are you doing here, Aaron?" they asked. Aaron pushed inside, but she stopped almost immediately when she started to realize how much had changed since she'd been gone. "Oh, wow, Denver, this is amazing," she breathed. It was, Denver knew, but as the words left her mouth, their stomachs soured. After all the time she denied them the opportunity to put their stamp on the apartment, after all the time she'd complained about their preference for dark stuff, she came in and decided now that it was amazing? Denver wanted to snap something. "It is?" "Oh yeah, this is definitely you all over it. It looks awesome. Chic even," Aaron said. Denver's frown only deepened. "But you hate stuff like this," Denver said, trying to remain gentle in the face of all the hurt she'd caused. "I think hate is a strong word. Besides, it's grown up. It looks like an adult lives here, not some kid. It's not a lot of metal posters," Aaron posted out. Oh yeah, that was something Denver should do. They needed to get the poster frames for their posters, currently rolled and tucked neatly in their closet. "This is the perfectly adult version of you." Denver wanted to stamp their feet on principle. "What do you want, Aaron?" "It's hard to say, but honestly, I wanted to apologize to you," she said. She offered the coffee again, and this time Denver took it. It was hot, which was just horrendous in this weather, but they knew Aaron drank hot coffee year-round, so it probably never occurred to her to get it iced. Just another way she only thought of herself and not the person she was trying to connect with. "I have some news." "You're pregnant?" Denver guessed, joking at first, but then wondering if that's why she was there. "Wait, you're not, are you? Because, oh no, God, no," she said, and she gave a nervous laugh. "No, you're, totally safe on that end of things. I'm queer, and I wanted you to know." Denver's brain shut down completely. After all the... What? When did you decide that? "I discovered that around the time we broke up," Aaron started, but Denver interrupted her. "You broke up with me." "After we parted," Aaron said, her eyes flashing with annoyance, "I started seeing a therapist over in Wintervale, and we had a long talk about how I treated you after you came out. And it turns out I might not be super straight myself. I think I'm bisexual. Actually, I also think I'm poly, and I need to work harder on communicating my needs in a relationship. Because if I just told you how I was feeling..." She didn't even finish that sentence, which Denver was glad of. Denver didn't want there to be any doubt that they were broken up. The Denver from a month ago might have wavered, might have agreed to couples counseling, but this Denver had been left alone to think about things that they wanted and how Aaron had hurt them. This Denver had been introduced to Celia, who had helped show them potential in themselves. And Celia had left today thinking Aaron was back and probably that Denver was going to throw her away. Unacceptable. "So anyway, I wanted to apologize. I realized that coming out at our age was a very brave thing, and I should have been more accepting of you," Aaron was saying. Denver's heart squeezed in their chest. "Well, congratulations on coming out yourself. Now please get out of my apartment." Aaron's face fell. "Don't you want to talk?" "Fuck no," Denver said, letting a growl edge into their words. They were getting pissed now, truly angry. "You played too many games. I literally don't care what you've decided or how it's affected you. You don't get some happy closure with me, Aaron, at least not right now." Aaron brushed her hair back from her forehead, a gesture she always did when she was getting annoyed at them. "Denver." "No, I mean it. Get out," Denver snapped. "You came over here, ruined a perfectly nice morning. You don't even think about things, do you? You don't even think about what kind of coffee I like or how constantly hearing you nag at me makes me question every fucking thing I know about myself. I'm working on being happy without you, and I'd like you to do the same somewhere else. Please leave. Get out. I don't want to talk to you anymore." She looked frustrated and sad, but whatever she wanted to say stayed sealed behind her teeth. "Fine. Maybe with some time." "Doubtful. And if you think about fucking around with Jesse, that's between you two. Don't drag me into it," Denver said. They pointed towards the door. "Get out." Aaron huffed, but she nodded. "Fine. Since you can't be reasoned with. See you around." Denver slammed the door behind her and twisted the locks loudly and firmly as they could. Unlikely. They took out their phone and texted their friends for backup. They needed their friends, their family, to help them process what the fuck just happened. What the actual fuck were you thinking? Tate groaned, leaning forward on their knees. Jesse and Tate were seated on Denver's sofa, while Denver was sitting on the floor, legs in crisscross applesauce formation. They looked around Denver's recently renovated apartment. She comes here, she does all this stupid craft stuff with you. I thought you liked stupid craft stuff, Jesse asked. That's beside the point. In this circumstance, it can be stupid, Tate said snappishly. This cute girl, who is absolutely new in town, comes here and sacrifices an entire Saturday during the plague to help you forget your old girlfriend, and when Erin shows up, what do? Abandon her? Ask her to leave? I'd be pissed too. It's not that bad, Jesse said. You only think that because you have a massive crush on Erin, Tate replied. Their face twisted with horror as they couldn't believe what had just popped out. You what? Denver asked, turning on Jesse. Secret crush, Jesse said. Besides, Keita would kill me dead. Well, yeah, of course she would. It's kind of cheating, Tate said. And Erin fucking sucks. Actually, Jesse started straightening up in his seat. It's not cheating. We're talking about opening up the relationship a bit. She loves me and I want to marry her, but love doesn't just get used up. It's an endless, spare me, Tate said. Love is for lonely people. Oh, so you, Jesse snarked back. Besides, Erin is kind of turfy, Denver said. I mean, yeah, she cheated, but there was also an if you weren't non-binary, I wouldn't have had to do this kind of thing. There was a lot of, and hey, how do you even go from liking someone like Keita to liking someone like Erin? Tate lifted their eyebrows in agreement, giving Jesse the most pointed look they could before deciding it was time to rustle around in Denver's kitchen like some unwanted pest. Actually, Tate would probably make a good raccoon. How do you go from liking someone like Erin to someone like Celia? Jesse countered. They're not similar. Yeah, but Keita is so cool and chill, and Erin is just an uptight bag, Denver said quickly. But they wondered if Jesse had a point. Erin is an uptight bag. Celia is cool and chill, Jesse said confidently. I hate it when you're right, Denver mumbled. And for the record. Yeah, I know you were talking about how I love a barista versus how I want to bone a turfy lawyer. But I'm glad you recognize how that sounded, Jesse said. And Erin clearly wants to try changing. I mean, why else did she come here? I guess. Denver ran their fingers through their hair. 1 week ago, I had sworn off dating drama forever. Now here I am wondering if this girl I've only known a week might be the love of my life, and if she is, what I should do about it, because I'm pretty sure I've already blown my shot. They looked up at Tate, who was shoving a mug of coffee under their nose. Thanks. Don't tell anyone I'm nice to you. I'll deny it, Tate replied. No one would believe me anyway. What should I do? Denver asked. Celia isn't like anyone I've ever known. We had mind-blowing sex, probably on this very sofa, Tate asked as they flopped down again, wiggling their butt against the cushions as if they enjoyed the thought of that idea. Don't be disgusting, Denver groaned. Tate cackled. What can I say? It's a gift, Tate said. My brother in Christ, as the kids would say ironically. Please go and talk to her. Like, where is she today? Text her. Talking is like the number one thing, isn't it? Talking and establishing boundaries. If you can effectively do that, in theory, you can make almost any relationship work, Jesse said. He grinned. At least that's what I tell myself with Key. She must really love you to be as patient as she is with your dumbass, Tate said. But when they looked over at Jesse, it was clear that they were very, very fond of him, and probably just as protective as Keita. One day, Tate, you are going to fall ass over tin cup for someone and I'm going to laugh my butt off, Jesse threatened. How are you a romance writer without a freaking romantic bone in your body? It's easy, Tate said. It's like being a scientist. I've got my magnifying glass and I'm just watching all of the ants roast in the sun. I really don't think that is being a scientist, Denver mumbled. Okay, all of you out. Get out of my apartment. I need to work on this. You are literally no fun, Tate complained, and pretended to be hurt when Denver shoved at them. We're going. Bo is going to be super pissed. I told her she'd have the apartment to herself today. Too bad. So sad, Denver quipped. Come on, Tate. Keita's at the cafe. We can go bother her, Jesse said, pulling Tate along. Don't you ever get sick of her? Tate complained, although Tate never got sick of Keita. Absolutely not, Jesse grinned. He waved at Denver as he pushed Tate out the door and closed it behind them. Denver felt restless. They felt like a buzzing of bees fluttering up in their chest, and the sleepless nights had caused their eyes to sag. They stood and wandered around the room, touching things that Celia had helped them put there. Even though they felt they'd only known each other a short time, it did feel like Celia had stamped her mark on here, like some part of this belonged to her now instead of to Aaron. Denver was really going to need to find a therapist. It was probably not healthy to continually hand over their space to other people. But Celia had been there. Her little thumbprints lingered over every project, every new piece of furniture. They went into their bedroom, slid off their plain jeans, pushing the t-shirt they had worn over their head. They were due for a shave soon, the bits carved out by their ears looking a bit sloppy. That was the problem with style. Once you decided to have it, it required constant upkeep. Denver looked at their naked body in the mirror. They felt indifferent to what they saw, which might have been what took them so long to realize that they were non-binary. Other people had more severe dysphoria, maybe. Other people hated what they saw when they looked in the mirror. Denver didn't care. That wasn't where their identity stemmed from. They opened the closet and removed the outfit that Celia had chosen from the thrift store. They had some work to do. Chapter 7. The drive to Blue Goat Township wasn't long enough. As insane as last Sunday had felt, taking the first step out into the world, this Sunday was mild. There was no traffic as Denver drove along the winding creek road. The smooth pavement of tourist-friendly quaint city started to blend into the pothole-marked roads of Blue Goat. Historic houses started to space out, becoming ranchers that had been built in a more recent century, and box stores started looming. What a strange and liminal place the outskirts of small towns could be, where the charm started to fall away to the necessity, aesthetic giving over to practicality. They hoped like hell that Celia was actually working. It seemed a little creepy to go by her house, and she had said that she had a shift today. Did she want Denver there? Could she be so mad that Aaron showed up without any warning? It wasn't like it was Denver's fault. All the same, they had done a quick online search for the DIY warehouse store hours and figured out closing time and went through the drive-thru of the nearest chain place. Denver hadn't seen Celia in just over 8 hours, but it felt like too long. They were quickly realizing that Celia was a person they might never get sick of seeing. They wanted more with Celia. They wanted to take her to dinner and ask her about her life. They wanted to curl on the sofa with her and watch bad movies that ended in slow, long kisses. They wanted so many more nights like the one before where they could just watch her gasp and moan. Gonna skip that part. Denver knew they were going to want it all with Celia in a way that hadn't felt right until this very second. Would Celia propose to them eventually? These were the stupid, giddy thoughts that Denver had while they waited for Celia's shift to end. They knew she was in the store because the truck was unmistakable, right down to the I brake for yard sales sticker on the back. They leaned against their own car, which they later regretted because the humidity was back, and they were sure it was doing frizzy things to their hair, and they waited for Celia to come outside. There weren't many trees in the parking lot, which allowed for a wide view of the sky. It felt big, open, exposed. Denver watched as the color shifted from orange to pink to purple as the sun set, knowing that the days were slowly getting shorter and winter would come soon. Would Celia be willing to build a snow person with them? Did she like cocoa? "Hey," Denver said quietly as Celia approached them. They held out the iced coffee they had brought as a peace offering. "I hit the drive-thru on my way over. Figured after the kind of shift I witnessed last Sunday, you might need the caffeine." It felt different from when Aaron had brought Denver coffee. This time, Denver knew how Celia took hers and made the effort to get it right. "Hey," Celia said quietly. She took the coffee, which was hopefully a good sign, and twisted her sneaker against the pavement. She wouldn't meet their eyes. "Are you okay?" Denver asked. "I don't know. I thought..." Celia chewed on her lip, considering her words very carefully. "I thought you would... I don't know. If I didn't see you again, I figured you'd be coming here to tell me to back off. Honestly. I know we're not, like, together or anything, but I'd like to get to know you better. If Aaron is back, though..." No, that's finished. Aaron is over, and has been for a long time," Denver said. They pushed off their car. God, this This anxious little mess was looking like the most precious thing that Denver had seen in a long time. Look, Celia, Aaron wants me to be something I'm not. Even if you hadn't been there, it would be over. I can't be different for her. What does she want? Celia asked, but it sounded like she meant how could she want anything else? Denver shrugged. I'm not even sure she knows. She's starting a journey that only she can figure out. Celia's lips quirked. That sounds a bit woo-woo. I'm learning to appreciate the woo, Denver said. She still wants a boyfriend and a girlfriend. She still sees these roles on the binary, I think. And I can't be that for her. I can't shove myself into a box for anyone. I'm not different from the person she fell in love with. I just used a more accurate label to describe myself, and she couldn't handle it. I've got to look out for my well-being too, you know. If she can't see that I'm the same, that signals to me she didn't really like me in the first place. I was just filling a column for her. Loving the whole idea of you kind of thing, Celia prompted. Denver nodded with a grim smile. Something like that. I'm sorry. It's just... All right, I know I came on to you pretty quickly, but I don't do that. I'm not usually the assertive one, Celia said. Her cheeks flushed as if she were embarrassed, and Denver wanted to kiss them. And I'm not saying anything bad about people who do, but I'm also not the type to sleep with someone on the first date. I really like you. All of you. You don't have to. Hold on. I want to get this off my chest. My previous experience has taught me not to ask for things that I want. And I might never really be able to get over that. But I need you to know, Celia said. When I saw you, I wanted real bad. And not a label or an outfit or a gender. I just want you. The butterflies in Denver's stomach were growing quickly, turning into pterodactyls. I want you to. Okay. Celia looked up at them. You can't just show up here in a sexy outfit and give me smoldering eyes and an iced coffee every time we have a fight, you know. Me? Moi? Denver pointed at their chest and pretended to look over their shoulders. I give the smoldering eyes? Celia grinned back at them. You give the smoldering eyes. Oh, I will have to be much more careful. I will yield this new power responsibly, Denver said. Celia giggled. You better. So, we're still seeing each other again? Denver asked hopefully because they were still not entirely sure. Of course we are. I hope we're seeing each other right now. I haven't eaten all day and I'm starving. Yay! Was that loud? I'm sorry. That is the end of Upcycle My Heart. Denver's cute. I think I might rewrite it. I'll go into that in a future video. It's a whole thing. But I hope you enjoyed it because I enjoyed writing it. I thought it was really cute. And okay, real quick, I think what might happen is I think I'm going to expand on the story. So I think I'm going to go back and rewrite them to be longer. So I would like to get a little more of Celia's perspective on this, but I do think it's a cute story. Anyway, if you like this video, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, going and watching another video. The algorithm does like it when you do that. Make sure to tell your friends if you enjoyed this story. Let me know if you think we should do another one. I was going to read the Santa Claus one at Christmas, but then I decided to do this one instead, and I don't regret it. So anyway, go outside, get a nap, get a snack, take your meds, drink some water. I'll see you next time.